I'm your host, Naim bin Muhammad Rafi, and here is my YouTube channel, Zamir Universal. How civilized is the West, commonly known as Western civilization? I think if you go into the dark ages, the primitive ages, when the people just walked naked, and there was a law of jungle, and the might was right, you can very easily say that what we are facing through and what we are being taught and what we are being fed by the media, print media, electronic media, by now social media, is absolutely wrong nonsense, just bag of lies. With this little small introduction, I will let you listen to the world authorities on this, and only for the reason of the copyrights, I will not show you the videos, but you will listen to them, and you will then understand and start to hate the West. Then you would see that they are completely naked before you, and everything was just false, still is false, and these people are the cruelest animals on earth. They are not civilized. And on the recent example of the genocide in Gaza and the way they have killed 2-year-old baby, shooting directly into the forehead, and the mass graves, they have beaten up Srebrenica. And I think that there should be war crimes, and these should people be arrested wherever in any other country they step in, especially the Netanyahu and his war council, and every, I think, the intelligence officer and the chief of army staff or any unit commander who attacked and killed the people. And the same should be done to what they have been doing as the settlers, the illegal occupants, the scum of the society, by force settled there and occupied the homes of the West Bank Palestinians and made their life hell in an open prison. There is no way to excuse them, and that shows you, does Israel have the right to exist? I'm sure the answer will be with you, which I don't have to spell it out for you. Absolutely not, because they don't respect international law. They are not a part of the international body. Nobody recognizes them except the United States of America, and only that is the country which has veto power again and again to protect this puppy dog. And the puppy dog keeps biting them. And you can see how insulting this mentally retarded Netanyahu has been to Joe Biden, who says himself that he is the greatest Zionist of the world. So you can see this scum of the society must be cleaned from the planet Earth if you want peace.
If anything good has come out of this horrific war, it's that the moral depravity of the so-called rules-based order has been exposed to the masses. The mask has fallen from the neoliberal class. For far too long, liberal Western politicians have tried to convince us that they live by the standards of human rights, democracy, and freedom of speech. These are the same individuals and countries that say Israel has a right to defend itself against the world's largest concentration camp. Our so-called Western leaders in Washington, in London, in Brussels have weaponized human rights. They've weaponized democracy to promote humanitarian wars and to expand their settler colonial projects. But let's not forget that this is the same ruling class that brought us the wars in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Somalia. And they're the same ruling class that have given us and pushed for the brutal maximum pressure campaigns, sanctions, and regime change operations against sovereign countries like Syria, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, and so many more countries who are resisting Western imperialism. Israel's war in Gaza is just an outward and blatant expression and representation of what the neoliberal class represent. a bloodthirst for war that fuels the military-industrial complex. Lockheed Martin and Raytheon, two weapons manufacturers, applaud this genocide. Think tanks that are funded by these weapon manufacturers draft the war policies and hand them to our politicians to make these wars inevitable. We see dead children. They see their stock prices go up. But it's clear, no matter how many millions of dollars that they spend to manufacture consent for their wars and support for Israeli apartheid, Palestinians have won the hearts and minds of humanity. Never have I personally seen in my lifetime such global dissent and awakening to Israel's propaganda war in Gaza. We are witnessing a global enlightenment. Millions upon millions of people have taken to the streets. Mass sit-ins at our elected officials' offices have been organized, and mass boycotts of monolithic corporations. The massive coffee company Starbucks lost $12 billion in a matter of just 1 month from our global boycott campaign. We have to disrupt their money-making mechanisms that make these wars possible. The capitalist system that we live under today is meant to make us feel powerless. But we have the power in our hands to disrupt their money-making mechanisms and stop this war. And guess what? It's working, and Israel knows it. The architects of the wars know this. And that's why today, Israel is spending literally millions of dollars on propaganda, on an information war, to manufacture consent.
On April 15th, people across 4 continents will launch an economic blockade in solidarity with Palestine. Through this coordinated mobilization, we will jam up trade choke points and disrupt the global economy. 30 cities and counting have joined the effort. This comes as Yemen is bombed to secure global trade routes and billions of dollars continue to fund the occupation. The time has come to open up new fronts against the Zionist war machine. It's time for collective risk. The global movement for Palestine has been gaining unprecedented momentum. What is happening in Gaza is unbearable. And we know that symbolic actions are not enough. We must escalate. As Palestinians face one brutal atrocity after another, we've watched them respond with collective resilience and fortitude. They inspire us to action. Their pain is our rage. For this, we are organizing and coordinating, and on April 15th, we will disrupt global logistical hubs and will clog flows of capital worldwide. In Melbourne, Australia, Taipei, Taiwan, Genoa, Italy, Catalonia, Spain, Miami, Oakland, London, Athens, Greece, Detroit, Seattle, Montreal, and in dozens of other cities across the world, we will identify and blockade major choke points in the economy. We will focus on points of production and circulation with the aim of causing maximum economic impact. If one city faces police repression, other cities will extend or expand blockades in solidarity. We will not talk to the police. Solidarity is affinity, and we have each other's backs. For 75 years, Israel has operated with impunity, but the Zionist project must end now. Go to a15action.com for more information on how to plug in.
When those who are occupied refuse to submit, when they continue to resist, we drop all pretense of our civilizing mission and unleash, as in Gaza, an orgy of slaughter and destruction. We become drunk on violence. We kill with reckless ferocity. We become the beasts we accuse the oppressed of being. We expose the lie of our vaunted moral superiority. We expose the fundamental truth about Western civilization. We are the most ruthless and efficient killers on the planet. This alone is why we dominate the wretched of the earth. It has nothing to do with democracy or freedom or liberty. These are rights we never intend to grant to the oppressed. Honor, justice, compassion, and freedom are ideas that have no converts, Joseph Conrad reminds us. There are only people without knowing, understanding, or feelings who intoxicate themselves with words, repeat words, shout them out, imagining they believe them, without believing in anything else but profit, personal advantage, and their own satisfaction.
The Western Empire is not spreading liberalism. They are crushing liberty, freedom, democracy everywhere they go. The United States has special ops forces, meaning intelligence and military operations, in more countries than they have embassies. The U.S. has carried out at least 469 military interventions since 1798, but more than half of those have been carried out in just the last 30 years. They are spreading neoliberalism, not liberalism. And these two ideologies couldn't be more different. And they're not spreading it by discourse and dialogue in the so-called marketplace of ideas. They're spreading it through force and violence on a scale unparalleled in human history.
And you can go back as far as you want, or as recently as you want. If you want to go as far as Nagasaki, Hiroshima, you can go there. If you want to go to slavery, you can go there. If you want to go to the genocide of the Native Americans, you can go there. And if you want to just talk more recently, you can talk about Iraq. You can talk about Afghanistan. You can talk about Syria. You can talk about Yemen. You can talk about drone attacks in Pakistan. You can talk about bombing the pharmaceutical factory in Sudan. And that's just against us. Forget about talking about Latin America in the 1970s, 1980s, and now.
They're spreading it through military invasion, occupation, and intimidation, and through economic sabotage, bullying, and debt slavery. The Muslim world and the entire global South see it. They know it. They experience it. They are suffering from it. Nobody is fooled by the propaganda. The West is not teaching the world, certainly not the Muslim world, about the value of individual liberty or the sacredness of the individual or about the rule of law or any of the other principles that are associated with liberalism. We have to fight the West in order to establish these principles in our societies. And these are principles that we understood centuries before the Enlightenment. You must have had your head buried in the amber waves of grain if you actually imagine that the West invented or discovered the concept of individual rights and civil liberties and freedom. The people in the West are allowed to do as they please. They're allowed to fornicate, they're allowed to drink, they're allowed to commit sodomy, they're allowed to play games about what gender is, they're allowed to indulge in absolute moral relativism, precisely because they are inconsequential to those in power. Your only role in the society is to contribute to corporate profits, to be a consumer and to be a worker. That's all. Therefore, anything else you want to do with your life doesn't matter to anyone who matters. Liberalism is a euphemism for the complete irrelevance of the morality, the decency, or the refinement of the population, because you don't matter. If your immorality and your indecency is profitable, it's approved. Nobody cares about you being a good person because you don't have any power. And what you call liberalism, which is actually just the complete indifference of power to the lives of the population, yes, this has wrought havoc on the societies. And this havoc is profitable. And it helps to consolidate the power of those who possess power because the population.
यूनिवर्सल टेलीविजन को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें, उसके बाद बेल बटन पे क्लिक करें और अपने कमेंट्स के सेक्शन में अपने कीमती जो ख्यालात का इजहार ज़रूर